Hello everyone and welcome back to Meerkat Musings. I am your host, Garth Damone. Apologies for having not done a video for a little while, but for various reasons I haven't really felt like doing a video. I've been working on my story. I had horrible hay fever, which I'm still suffering from actually. You might be able to hear it in my voice. And I haven't really had the motivation to sit down and do a video. I did do a podcast actually, but I sounded nasal in that. I probably still sound nasal now. But I thought, hey, you know what, let's just do a video, get back into the routine of things. You can probably see I've had a haircut. This actually was done myself. I ordered some trimmers, they came the other day, and I gave it a go. Now, it looks neat and tidy for the most part. You'll have to ignore one glaring problem, however, which you can't see, but around the back of my head I actually have a nice new bald patch where I tested the blades and didn't really think it through. So yay, go me. I'm not going to show you, in case you're wondering. There is no chance of that. So what's been going on? As mentioned, been working on my sci-fi story up to almost 100,000 words. I think we're on officially like 93,000 or something like that. So I'm quietly pleased with myself with that one. I may actually look at self-publishing it somehow. I've seen that done through things like Amazon, the Kindle app and that kind of thing. So I'll take a look at that. Is it good enough to be put out there for worldwide consumption? Probably not, to be fair. Would it even get that kind of attention? Probably not, to be fair. But you know what? I'm not doing it to earn loads of praise for my prose and my abilities as a writer. I'm doing it because it's from the heart and I want to share it. And if I can share it and get paid, well, that naturally serves to my advantage, doesn't it? So I'll look into that and we'll see how it goes. Lately I've been getting into some interesting discussions on the subject of Black Lives Matter and the whole movement around that. I've been arguing mainly with a couple of old sparring partners, I guess you could say. Both of them would be classed as deeply conservative, I guess, and in theory very religious, although I have some question marks about them, both of them, in that respect. In terms of some of the things that they say and argue, one in particular, I think there has to be some questions raised about how much they actually honour their faith. But the arguments basically are along the lines of, first of all, whether or not racism remains a thing. Well, it does. It absolutely does remain a thing. It is a real ongoing problem. And the other issue is... Oh, and I have a visitor. This is my daughter handing me something midway through the video. I don't know why. So well, I'm not putting this on YouTube. We'll come back to that, shall we? As it were. The joys of doing video at home, eh? You never know what you're going to get. And yeah, that was unusual. So where was I? Yes. So one person that I've been arguing with has been talking about how systemic racism isn't really a thing. It doesn't really exist. And when confronted with a whole load of evidence that he's wrong, instead rather whined actually that I wouldn't look at a video of his that apparently said otherwise, even though I gave him several links to various reports, including government reports, that go to show that institutionalised racism is alive and well here in the UK. Although the article he was responding to of mine was actually referring to the USA. So he moved the goalposts once and then moved them again, which in my view is quite dishonest actually, and unfortunately not all too surprising in respect to this particular individual. The other individual has been complaining that the protests aren't legal, and that they don't follow God correctly, and that it's not the right way to get justice. Although, when asked repeatedly as to whether or not what he thought of the situation with George Floyd, he wouldn't actually condemn what happened to him. He wouldn't actually offer an opinion either way. So he's very quick to denounce the protesters, and he was quite initially keen to lump them all in as being violent rioters. But when pressed, he wouldn't offer an opinion about a man kneeling on another man's neck for 8 minutes whilst the guy pinned to the floor was pleading to breathe. For some reason, that's not something that he can speak about one way or the other, which I don't fully understand. I mean, surely it's pretty obvious that's not justice being delivered there, even if it was proven that George Floyd had committed a crime, which, well, there was an allegation that he'd used the counterfeit note, but that doesn't mean he did so knowingly. And even if he did, does the punishment fit the crime? No, not nearly. And it's not the police role in the judicial system to actually carry out sentences, and certainly not in that kind of brutal manner. I mean, there would never be the death penalty for that in the first place anyway, and rightly so. But the police do not carry out sentences, and they certainly don't get to act like judge, jury and executioner. But the police did on that occasion, as they have on many occasions towards black people in America. There is a problem with racism, and it's something which people get uncomfortable when it's brought up. But we do have our prejudices, and sometimes we don't even know we've got them. But it is a problem. It is an ongoing problem. It's something which people don't like to mention, but look at what's going on in America right now. Those riots are happening for a reason. They don't exist in a vacuum. And we have our own problems in the UK. I'd like to think we're not as bad in some ways, but the reality is, I don't know. I'm not sure I can make that statement. I'd have to actually speak to people who are affected by racism, and they could perhaps tell me whether or not they feel Britain's better than America for that kind of thing, or whether it's actually not. Who knows? It's one of those things we need to have conversations about it. And I don't approve of rioting. I don't approve of looting. I don't approve of vandalism. I've made that point very clear to one of the two parties I've been debating this thing with. But I do understand why it's happening. Understand why people are angry, why people are frustrated. Even in this country, there's a disproportionate number of deaths of black and ethnic minorities because of various forms of police heavy-handedness. Anyway, that's it for now, because my daughter is determined to show me her picture again. So tune in next time.